think that the Iranian war is the beginning of World War III. No, it will not lead to the militarization of all of the major players in the world today. But what will happen is that it will be the end of the trust on the equilibrium in the world today, because it will be in free fall. Everything will be in free fall, and people will be scrambling to survive. Let me explain how this will occur. The current situation is that there is a tendency to trust on the ability of the various governments to force the young people to fight their wars and to die in order for the ones in government to instill fear in the children who are growing up and who will have to take up arms to defend their right to be the ones in control of society full of dark energy. They teach the children to fear that death is near, and that the only way to avoid death is to do what you're told. You have to do what you're told. And that will create an army that will respond to the threat of death by dealing out death to others, you see. They have to kill others to survive. And this is the law of the jungle that they tout when they shout from the rooftops that this is the force of evolution, you see, that they will cause others to die in order to survive. And this is the biggest lie you ever did hear. And it is deeply ingrained in the Near East and in the Far East and in the West, because the Middle East is the battleground of the ones who sought to be taken back to their spaceship, you see. It became the place where the Anunnaki took up their residence when they were reincarnated on Earth, you see. And ever since, the Middle East has been the place where they play their games of war, because they abhor having to be relegated to a land of little hope, you see. There's little hope for them. And so every once in a while, someone will arise who says he will cause so much chaos that there will be a lot of destructive energy released, and then the Anunnaki can continue to be free of their enemies, you see, because the Anunnaki trust on enemies. They trust that there are those who want to destroy them, you see. Now, I'm not talking about individuals here. except in certain cases where they adhere to the same mentality. For many of those who were once considered the Anunnaki in their own history of their soul development, you see, have become very, very protective of the human species. And they trust on their ability to help them, you see. They are a very, very powerful group on Earth today, and they have been a powerful group on Earth throughout its history after the destruction of the Anunnaki spaceship. There had to be a place for them to reincarnate, or they would just fade away. Like saying that their energy would dissipate and no longer hold together. It would just be a return to pure energy without any form, you see, because your soul history is the form of your life that continues to delight in physical activity. But if you don't have the opportunity to be physical, there's no point in it anymore. There's no point in an individuated soul that cannot go into a physical form in order to be considered unique, you see. It would just return to pure energy. This is like saying if you have a favorite chair in your house, it has an identity. It's your chair, the chair you want to sit in all the time because it's comfortable to you and just the right spot. You have a favorite chair where you go every day, Stephanie, when you talk to us or when you look at things or when you write, because it's comfortable to you and it's just right in the right place, you see, in your house. And one day you say, I can't stand this chair anymore because it's ripped up and stained and I don't want it anymore. And so you take it outside and you set it on fire and it returns to pure energy. And the entire history of that chair is irrelevant now because nobody's going to come to you and say, is that your favorite chair? Where did you get it? Or can I sit in it? I'd like to see what it feels like today. Or I like that color. Or did you restore your chair by sanding it down and restaining it? This is the history of your chair. And the history of your chair allows it to be part of your communication and your relationship with others, you see. But when the chair has no further use to you, it is destroyed and it will return to pure energy because it will just go up in smoke, you might say. And that will say, goodbye, it's over today. And the same can be said for the individuated soul energy. It is created from the trust on the life of God because God lives through his children and his children live through their physical experiences, you see. So when they felt the need to reincarnate, you see, in order to continue their own history, the most viable option for them was to reincarnate on Earth in the very human bodies that carried their old DNA. Because, of course, humanity is derived from the DNA of the Anunnaki and the DNA of certain animals on Earth. And so it is a hybrid. And so they would reincarnate as humans. But they still had the trust on their history because it was so very, very strong in their soul energy that it would keep replicating itself in their physical experience. And eventually it even became part of their physical bodies because, as you know, the genetic material can be altered by the experiences of the soul in a particular way when they are on earth, you see. And so this genetic material continued to have sway because it grew with each generation, you see, to be more powerful, as well as the soul energy. There was the physical DNA. And often the Anunnaki, like everyone else, would reincarnate into the same family. So there would become a certain distinct epigenetic signature for a certain family. And the family of man is diverse, you see, because of the many experiences that alter its DNA. It is not static, you see, it's not static. If it was static, there would be no surprises, would there? But there are surprises because the rises of the energy will vary, you see. And so through the generations, the Anunnaki who joined a certain family of man became very, very violent in their behavior. And they were violent to each other and to others, you see, because they trusted on their capacity to control humanity, which is very ironic, you see, because they were humans now. But they could not let go of their ancient soul history and their hatred for humanity. They hated humanity and they hated themselves, you see, for having been defeated by the humans and have their spaceship blown up, and all of them were forced to go back into the spiritual realm and to return to Earth, you see. And so they considered themselves captives. They thought of themselves as captives of the earth. And indeed, they were captured many, many times, as you know. The Hebrews, which are the group that was basically the inspiration of the Anunnaki, were often taken into captivity because whatever they trusted upon would become their reality. You see, if you trust upon being a captive, you'll become a captive. That's just the way it is. And so, through time, they would become violent in order to avoid having to be captured, you see. And then they would capture others, and those would say, well, we were captured today, and so we're always captured. We're the captive ones. And then they would be captured again. So they would fight with each other and capture each other, and it was pretty brutal at times. It was very brutal. And of course, it wasn't just their soul energy that was encapsulated in the physical form in that area, you see. There were many others as well who came that way because it was a crossroads for humanity for many centuries. And through time, the energy of the Anunnaki was dispersed through many lineages of humanity, of course. Everything's been dispersed, and the complexity of understanding the soul energy and how it affects the physical form is very long and hard to understand. So, what we have today is a tendency for the social structure of the Middle East to be very very violent. It's just violent. That's the way they play, and it has been violent for many a day. The people who preferred to live in peace and harmony were often the ones who would escape to distant regions, you see. And they would often be the families who would live in peace and harmony until they were invaded, you see, because there would always be those who would invade others in order to get the gold or whatever they held of importance, you see. But in the Middle East, they just fought because of their fear of being captured. And their fear of being captured is what caused the irony of them being captured, you see. And so the violence was not so much to get the gold, it was to be the ones who would capture others, you see, to avoid being captured. And that was a different motivation than for much of humanity. For example, the Vikings would kill to get the gold, and they would bring it back in their holds. But they were not afraid of being captured, you see, because they would fight to the death and be immemorialized as the fiercest warriors who ever did see. But there were many different varieties of warmongering among the different nations on the earth. However, as the energy has been dispersed through the shrinking of the world, you might say, as it became easier to travel and to say, I'm going to the US today, or I'm going to visit China, it has created a chaotic situation that has upset the apple cart, you might say, because now nobody knows what goes in a particular region. It's all just kind of haphazard, you might say. And so you have someone like Trump who is pure Anunnaki because he derives his energy from the original three who devised the plan to destroy the trust of humanity on love, you see, and replace it with the love of gold so that they could get all the gold in their hold and take it away. And they still love the gold. The Anunnaki still love the gold. Trump still loves the gold, as you can see. But he is by far the stupidest of the three. The three, of course, are Elon Musk, who wants to escape the Earth atmosphere and go back to the Anunnaki, which is foolish because the Anunnaki no longer exist. They have all self annihilated, you might say. And Stephen Miller, who is the ravenous beast behind the throne. And he is the most hateful person you ever did see because he hates humanity. He hates humanity with a passion, you see. And so the Anunnaki hate each other. They have come to hate each other because he hates the fact that he hates his brother. He hates the fact that he is so hateful that he can't be someone who can charm others, you see. He can't charm others. Stephen Miller is a ghoul, you might say. A ghoul, you might say. Sorry about that. And as a ghoul, he is the tool of the ancient story of his own history. And you know that story. So he is by far the most hateful of the three, and Elon Musk is the most hopeful of the three because he hopes to escape captivity by finding a way to get free of the earth one day and find his old buddies on the starship that will help him clone his body for immortality. And so his interest is less about hating humanity and more about seeking a way to escape them, you see. But Trump and Miller feel cornered, and therefore their hatred is so great that their fate is sealed by their lack of empathy for others, you see. They have no empathy for anyone else because they never learned through lifetime after lifetime to accept the beauty of the world they see because they denied it to others, you see. They denied the beauty of the earth to their own children, or they gave them their DNA and then they sent them down in the mine every day where they would have to work in the dark. And when they got out at dusk, they would have no time to enjoy their lives as creatures of the earth, you see. And so that history continues to darken the people of the USA and everywhere in the world today. The nature of your history is not the end all and be all, you see. You don't have to give in to your DNA from the ancestors who gave it to you. You have the opportunity to trust on your soul history to open your eyes and see reality. Just because you spent your first lifetimes down in the mine and you never got to enjoy the earth you see, doesn't mean that you can't come to terms with why you are so sad, you see, and feel so bad all the time, even though you do what you're told. And so the importance of learning your history is so important to me and to others because we are all in the same boat, you see. I am in the same boat as you, Stephanie. I have to listen to the things that people say on earth today because I hear it as I join my energy with you. I hear it as you hear it. And I say, what is wrong with these people today? What is wrong with these people today? And then I say, they don't know their history. They don't know who they are because they don't know what they are. And this is the story that has to be told so that they can find the true gold, which is not in the earth, but in the heart of man. The heart of man contains the true gold because the true gold is the story of old that says, you were created by God, you see, and you are your soul and not your physical form. Your physical form is only the mirror of what you see when you look around you. If you see reality, then you will be real. If you see illusions and think they are real, then you will be a delusion to God, you see. And God will say, that's not real today. That's not real today. That person is not real because they steal away in the night like a thief and try to hide from me. I am the God of the universe, and you cannot hide from me. I am the God that can see everything you see, and hear everything you hear. This is the God that I know. This is Thomas, as you know, and I have come to see that my own history has caused me to delay my return to Earth because I want to say what I have to say to humanity. And if I return to Earth today as an infant, I will lose my ability to talk in this way. And so I'm looking for another way. I'm looking for another way to reach humanity because the net result of what is happening today will be the destruction of everything you knew and thought you grew for yourself, you see, because everything you grew for yourself will disappear, because only what you grow for others, you see, will ever bear fruit, because that is the nature of the soul energy, that it would must give what it would receive, because it is tied to the trust on love, you see. And love is a way of saying that you must give to me your trust on me so I can give to you my trust on you, and we can live together in peace and harmony. Otherwise, if we distrust each other, we're always at odds, you see. And I don't want to be at odds with you, Stephanie, and I don't want to be at odds with the rest of humanity. I want everyone to look up and say, see that moon in the sky today? It is there because God put it there. It is there so that we are never quite alone in the dark. There's always a little bit of light that will shine on us, you see, even when the sun goes down. And now I say, let the light that is reflected back at you remind you that God is true and that all of you will survive in one way or another until you can no longer drive your own car. That is to say, until you no longer can inhabit a physical form, you see, because at that point there is no further purpose for your soul energy, and it will dissipate and go back to the pool of truth, which is the nature of God energy. It will not be painful for you. It will be a relief for many of you, but it will also be the end of the human story if some do not continue to return to earth and say, I'm here today, I'm here today, and this is my world, and I love it. You see, I love my world. I am not here for the love of gold. As Steph would say, I'm here for the cookies because I love the cookies. I love to taste the world around me. I love to keep pace with the days that churn around me. But I'm not here to listen to a lot of garbage from those who think they're here to govern others and tell them what to do. I'm just here for the cookies and not for the shit that flows from the halls of Congress and the White House and many, many, many other levels of government where people gather to try to please the Anunnaki and get the gold, you see, because they cannot appreciate what they see. They cannot appreciate the color of the sky or the little ones that laugh and cry or the share that supports them and has a history. And so they just burn it up, you see, and let it go back to pure energy. And so when they blow away the structures they have built, those structures go back to pure energy. And that is how they perceive their power, you see, that they can destroy what others have made. And it is because of this power to destroy what others have made that they have the power to destroy themselves, you see. They will destroy themselves and go back to pure energy. At last, humanity will be free. At last, humanity will be free of the Anunnaki.